South California on the wall. Tell me you're here, tell me you'll stay before.
So this is basically the first day I've been back in the studio since I've been ill. I got ill on Friday last week, and yeah, so I've been in bed really poorly with tummy bug, not virus or anything like that. And yeah, yesterday I started to feel a lot better, and then today I've come in the studio, but because I haven't been in here for a few days, there's so many things that I've got going on, so I'm really suffering from big time overwhelm this morning. So I came in earlier and I just kind of tried to make a list, but even that felt too overwhelming this morning, as inevitably sometimes does. And I'm thinking I could show you some of my art journals. I will show you the pages we made last week. I have done some final touches to it. And I thought yesterday that she was finished, but actually I've come in today and I just want to do a couple of extra things, so she's not quite finished. So I'm finishing her this week. But apart from that, I haven't really got anything arty to show you. Although I do have all my journals, sketchbooks, notepads, and things like that. So I thought I could show you how I fill all my different notebooks, what different types of sketchbooks I have, art journals, diaries, planners, things like that. I love notebooks, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that love notebooks. And after last week's video, thank you so much for commenting. I've had more comments on that video last week than any other video I've done so far. And as you probably know, I've not been going very long here on YouTube. So it's really nice to actually begin to get some comments coming in, which begins to feel like a bit more of an arty spirit community, which is really nice. And the comments I got were mainly about art journaling and how people either love art journaling or they haven't done it for ages, or they've always wanted to start doing it. So I thought if I show all my journals. This is actually not all my journals. I've got loads more at my out there studio, but I can show you what I've got at home at the moment. I don't rush my journals, and they take me years and years to fill. So there isn't going to be a sketchbook tour anytime soon, I don't think. But I will show you some of the finished pages and talk you through all my journals. So the first thing I'll go through with you is just my 4 categories. I think it's 4. And then I'll show you a few examples of each category. Regarding the categories then, so to start with, I have let's start with the one we were working in last week. I have my main art journal, which is a Moleskine journal. I will try and link all the things I use in the description box. Yeah, this is a size I like, and I have 2 of these at home actually. So I've got 2 Moleskine journals that I've been working in for quite some time. This one I began before we even left our house, so it must be over 7 years. Oh, the front's falling off, which is, you know, kind of happens. And this journal, you can see me in that. That's me in my old art studio before we moved. So this art journal is over 7 years old and it's still not finished. And that's not a problem for me. I don't feel the pressure to finish them. That's not why I'm doing them. And in actual fact, it's a bit like reading a really good book that you just don't want to finish. And then when you finish it, you feel like you've lost a friend. So I've got pages in here. I've got all these pages at the back that are pretty much empty. And it's the old Moleskine paper, which is much more buff coloured. It's much more creamy compared to this. I don't know if you can see. Oh yeah, you can kind of see. So this one is the newer version. The paper changed, and it used to be so lovely and creamy, and actually it was a thicker, heavier paper than this one. But I still love the Moleskine, even though they changed the paper. And this one's got really fat now, which is why the elastic's really good and keeps it together. It's going to get a lot fatter as well before I finished it, if I ever finish it, she says. So those are what I call my art journals, and they are a mixture of art and thoughts, basically. So I'll just give you a couple examples of pages that I have actually finished. And lots and lots of layers. I always incorporate words, text, written text, typed text, collage elements, and then all my art supplies. Sometimes I type things out and stick it in. Often my pages stick together, which I really like, 'cause it makes a really nice noise. So these pages were actually process pages. All this pink on here is a piece of paper that I journaled on where something really horrible had happened and I wanted to write it out. I can't even remember what it was now. And then I purposely spilt pink ink all over it, scrunched it up, ripped it up, tore it up, shredded it basically. So it was kind of an activity of burning it. This is what I sometimes do in my journals. And then I let it dry, glued it all down and worked over the top of it and made it into something really pretty and put glitter on it and things like that. So yeah, I often do that in these journals as well. Got loads of pages that are just unfinished. I think this one's that way up. This is a bit like Sleeping Beauty, that one. I do quite a lot of fairy tale type artwork where I get inspired by stories. So I either get inspired by stories that I hear, stories that I read, or my own story. And that often inspires all the work I do. But it usually begins in my journal as a way to express my story and express the stories that inspire me, if that makes sense. A couple of pages that I made during lockdown. And a little flap here. So I really enjoy this kind of journaling because I don't put pressure on myself to make it a piece of fine art. It's just a playground and it's a way to be really loose and experimental. So I've also got pages like this, which are part finished. They're kind of 50% there, and yeah. So that's kind of it in this one. I don't know if there's anything in this one that I want to show you because it's so old and it's like, you know, when you look at old drawings and things like that, it's kind of a bit embarrassing. Just beginnings of pages here. I think when I was making this book, I wasn't feeling confident to finish things. I was fine starting and I felt very creative and I felt very inspired, but I think at this point I didn't really have the experience of how to process, of how to layer, of how to actually make the pages and how to finish them. I did these during lockdown, so these are more recent. In fact, these were pages that I already had this little drawing on and I just added to it, so it kind of began a little bit like a page like that, and then I added on the other bits. This was also a lockdown page. Yeah, I've got so many pages that are just drawings, and I will be leaving some of them as drawings, but some of them I will be working over as well as time goes on to fill the journal and honour the paper and that kind of thing. So that's about it for my art journals, or the things I call art journals anyway. And now, what else have I got? I've got a travel journal, which I started when I went to China last year. So my daughter was living in China, my daughter and son-in-law. And yeah, I started a travel journal. So I've got things like postcards and little things with Chinese writing on and stuff in there. And I was actually keeping a journal as well. And it's kind of got little pockets that you can just tuck things in, and there's even a little pocket at the front as well. So I really like it. It's a cute little journal. Got some Chinese money, which I could journal with. But yeah, and I just did some doodles. I bought some pens while I was in China, so I just did some doodles in here and things like that. But this one is kind of an ongoing project as well. So yeah, there's a few bits and bobs in here and lots of blank pages, but I like journals that you can bend. I also have this book, and this book is a paper chase journal, and I really like the paper in this one, the fact that it's coloured paper, craft paper. And I have hardly done anything in this journal, and the reason I brought it home was because I felt that I might not have enough journals during lockdown. I mean, we just don't know how long lockdown's going to be. So this was kind of like my backup plan in case I did run out of journals. And this journal hasn't got hardly anything in it. I've done a couple of bits and pieces in here, but it's basically empty, which I really like. And I tend to, when I've got bits of paint left on my palette and I've finished painting, I just kind of use a page in here to use up any supplies I've got on my palette. So that's quite a useful way to not waste my art supplies, which I really like. So moving on to the next category then, I've done art journals and a travel journal. I'll kind of bunch the travel journal in with that because it's kind of a similar thing. I've then got a couple of sketchbooks at home with me at the moment. I've got this really mini one, which was a gift. So thank you for buying me this because I love it. And in this one, I do like teeny tiny studies. So if I'm doing a drawing or a painting and I'm not quite sure which direction it's going in, or I'm having trouble drawing something, I might do a little practice session in there just to help fix the problem I'm having, if you like. So this is kind of like a little problem solving book. And also because it's so small, I can take this one out and about with me. So it's quite a nice portable journal. I also have probably my most important sketchbook of all. Now this is a really cheap exercise book with plain paper. It's kind of cream. It's from Paperchase again. And it's not got thick, expensive paper, but I really like this paper because it's a bendy notepad. Again, it's really, really portable because it's really light and pretty small as well. And often, because I take my laptop out and about with me, this fits in my laptop bag. So either of these are really portable, which is really useful. But I like to draw in this book. And the reason I don't use my expensive book to do my sketching in is because I get precious and I get nervous and I feel the fear more. With this journal, because I can't ruin the pages and it doesn't really matter what I do and I'm much looser and freer, I can play and concentrate more on improving my drawings. So, for example, there's a few nudes in here and I don't think I can show those on YouTube. I've got some... I'll show you there. So yeah, I've got some drawings that I did. So I do my nude, my life drawing practice in here, and even though the pages are quite small for doing life drawing, I've really enjoyed working this size. It's been quite a challenge to actually do my life drawing practice in here. So I got censored on Facebook for sharing some of these drawings, so I don't think I can show them on YouTube either. But maybe if I cover, what can I do? But I can show you that because I've kind of covered her boobs. Cover her boobs, and you can kind of see the kind of drawings I've been doing. So yeah, there's a few drawings in here that are my life drawing practice. I often do my warm-up activities in here as well. I've got a whole other video about drawing warm-ups and how to get back into drawing and what I do to warm up and all my exercises that I do to improve my drawing. And yeah, things like this. And I'll try to link it somewhere if I can work out how to do it. And then if I feel like doing a more academic drawing, I will pull out some of my nicer paper, my good quality professional art paper, and then practice drawing on there as well. So I've just done a few things in lockdown. Those are the only two sketchbooks I have at home. I have my nice quality paper. I tend to use Strathmore paper, so I've got a toned one here. I will link these below in the description box. And then this is also a Strathmore paper as well. I think it's the mixed media paper. It's really quite heavy weighted and I can layer and layer on here and it doesn't seem to buckle or mind if it gets really wet and then I dry it out and flatten it. I don't have to stretch that paper. And even though I'm not a watercolour artist, I do use watercolours and inks in my process. So having a highly absorbent, good quality paper really helps me with my artwork. In fact, that paper I can honestly say changed my life when I found it. It's really good paper. It's definitely the paper for me. And I think that when you find a paper that you like working on, it can really be quite life-changing to your art process. Anyway, I could probably waffle on and talk about paper a lot longer. So the last category I've got is altered books, and I have 3 at home currently. This is the one I'm currently working in, and I've just started working in this one. So I've started gluing pages together and gessoing on them. This I think is about 3 or 4 pages glued together. And this paper is really, really absorbent because it's an old book. So it's not ideal to get wet, but if you stick a few pages together and then add gesso, you can with care do some wet layers on here. So that's the one I'm working in and I really like it. It's a really nice size, that one. I'm really liking it. And then if I feel like it, I've got 2 others. This is an old one. This is one I started working in several years ago, and I really like the size of this one. And again, the fact that it's bendy, there's something about the really hard journals that you can't bend that I just don't get on with for some reason. And I also prefer the bound books rather than spiral bound. So yeah, this is really old artwork. So it's kind of funny. Is there anything in here that I want to show you? Maybe. I could show you a little bit. There's a little fairy. And just doing some, you know, working with the words on the page. I really enjoy that. Yeah, little characters out of my imagination. Just fun and drawings and playing. And each page has a mood. It's quite clear to see what kind of mood I'm in. So yeah, this book's falling apart and needs to be repaired and finished at some point. But again, I'm just not in a rush with them. They've been with me a long time and they feel like friends. So that's my art journals. So there's one other category of notepads that I have, which is my planners. And sometimes I do some doodles and drawings in there, and then maybe I might tear those pages out and use it in my journals. I've got this book that I'm using at the moment. It's got my notes in it. So I've got a planner, which I use this one, which is the Llewellyn notebook. And it gives me a monthly planner, and then it gives me weekly pages. And it also follows some astrology and moon cycles and things like that, which I really like. I don't love the fact it's got the ring binder, but apart from that, I really love that book. And then I've got this book, which is a Moleskine squared paper, and I do loads of planning in here. I really like the size of this one. So I've been planning all my YouTube videos and my Patreon videos and anything else to do with the Unexpected Gypsy business side of things. And this book is more to do with longer term planning and finances and things like that. Again, it's a paper chase journal and I collaged over the front cover. I think it's a kind of craft and sewing journal, but it has pages like this in, which I really like, which are really useful. So I can do a monthly review of my business in here, and I really like that. And then there's just random pages that I can fill in if I like. So I've got those two which really run my business. So that's it. That's all my journals and sketchbooks and notepads. So what kind of journals do you use? Do you have different categories, or do you have a journal that you have everything all in one place? Do you like to carry journals with you? What are your favourites? Do you like the ones with squared paper, plain ones? Do you bullet journal? You know, do you have favourite journals that you use over and over again? So for example, for me, I use the Moleskine over and over again. Or do you like to experiment and try out different journals and different papers and things like that? What kind of size of journal do you like? Do you like the ones that you can bend, or do you like the hardbound ones? And there's so many choices out there. And I know that I'm not the only one to have a bit of a stationery and art supply obsession, although I am really careful about bringing lots and lots of new things in my life, because I just feel overwhelmed and I feel like it complicates my process. And because I do use so many different art supplies in my artwork, I kind of find if I have too many things, it almost shuts down my process. So I like to keep my kit minimal, and I have done that since we lived in the van. And since then, I've obviously gathered more things. But at the same time, I'm very intentional about the things that I bring into my studio and the things that I buy. So I don't end up with a load of art supplies that I don't use, which I think we can suffer from. So I do go through my things and minimise and declutter and let things go that I'm not using from time to time. And that feels really good, very therapeutic. I think in an ideal world, I would just love to have 1 or 2 journals on the go, but I realised quite a long time ago, I'm a multiple journal kind of girl. This is my minimal collection of journals, because as I said earlier, there are quite a few more left at the studio. But there you go, that's my journals.
Pictures of California